What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only NIO stock, what you should be looking out for the future, what the data and charts are showing us for tomorrow based off everything that's going on. I'm also going to talk about the SPY, the Nasdaq, and how these things may affect NIO and what you should be watching for tomorrow as I give you guys my price prediction. Now, before I break anything down, before I get into any more details, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner, taking none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. Not only benefits me, it benefits the entire NIO community as a whole. And the last thing is, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each worth up to $2,000. And the best part is, any could be a free NIO share, a free Tesla share, or a mix of all of them. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 1 week. Check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So NIO is looking pretty decent right now. The overall market did take a bit of a hit today, at least compared to the very open, but we did get a nice bounce. We actually closed just a little bit in the red. NIO, however, actually outperformed the overall market again. And this thing is a very nice looking setup, at least for the very short term. Now, why does NIO look like this way? The answer is, we are still starting to see some nice articles coming out about, potentially buying NIO. It's doing pretty well. They're talking about the fact that NIO has a lot of potential. I'm seeing some nice articles about that too. Not to mention the fact that NIO has some very, very, very strong catalysts coming out for the long-term future. Not to mention the ET7, their expansion plans, and also a very strong deliveries report for the upcoming months, especially 2 weeks away. So I am anticipating some strong results from NIO, but I want to talk about why tomorrow is going to be an interesting day in my opinion. I do believe that NIO is going to get a nice push into open because this overall setup looks like an inverse head and shoulders. As you can see right here, we have the left shoulder, we have the head, and then the right shoulder. This thing looks like it's going to push up pretty well from here. Now, if NIO were to push up, where could this thing go to? Well, first we got to push up and break past 11. If we break 11, because remember, we were actually above that yesterday, very recently. If we break this zone, we could actually have a quick big spike in volume, and NIO could actually hit 11.46, fill the gap, and then maybe start to bleed as the day goes on. I know you guys don't like to hear that, but I want to show you guys the trend on SPY and the overall market and how that could also affect NIO, because you have to remember that the way the market moves tends to affect NIO. This is NIO compared to the QQQ. This is NIO's price pairs ratio. It's just going back and forth and back and forth. But overall, it's on a slight uptrend. So NIO is outperforming the QQQ to some degree, maybe just slightly. NIO did have a red day after the Chinese Renaissance, so this very big analyst ended up giving NIO a hold rating instead of a buy rating. And historically, NIO is actually green about 53% of the time on Fridays. So we do actually tend to push up a bit. November tends to be a good month for us, but this November is going to be full of lots of chop because of current market circumstances. The short interest has been on a slight downtrend right here, but it did actually go up over the last couple of days. So that's a sign that a lot of these bulls are still actually controlling the stock, but there are shorts re-entering, because when you look at the overall volume, 62 million is pretty decent. However, the shorts volume percentage is actually spiking a bit, which means that the bears are coming in and they're trying to bring NIO down as well. So with that said, what do I expect for tomorrow? Well, the first thing you have to remember is how the overall market is performing. On SPY, we are respecting a very bearish setup. We do look more bearish than bullish. And overall, if you look at this trend, we are resembling kind of like a head and shoulders like setup right here. We have the head, the shoulders, and this thing is starting to come down and kind of curl in this direction. Now, even though SPY does look net bearish, it looks more bearish than bullish, we are actually popping up a little bit and we are showing some sign of strength thanks to lots of buyers coming in. So I do believe SPY has potential to maybe hold these levels for a little bit more time before it continues to downtrend very, very slowly. And for that reason, I think the QQQ and the markets may follow, because when you look at Apple, this thing is actually getting lots of buyers. It actually pushed up pretty hard today, and this actually helped the market. The overall market pushed to the upside too. It helped the SPY. In return, that also helped the QQQs. So on the QQQ, however, we were just a little bit red overall, but we actually got a nice push. We had this big gap down on the QQQ and the SPY. That's because of the jobs report. I mentioned this yesterday, guys, that if this came out lower than expected, if there were less jobless claims than expected, this would not be good for the stock market. Why? Because Less jobless claims means less people filed for unemployment than expected, and the market wants pain because if there's more pain, it de-incentivizes the Fed from being more hawkish. Because this was lower than expected, this does somewhat, at least to some degree, incentivize the Fed to be even more strict on policy, even more hawkish to bring down these inflationary data points. Now, with that said, looking at the QQQ, in my opinion, this thing has some potential to push up a bit, but I don't know how it's going to react to these resistance levels. We have that 286 zone, not to mention the 287. We are going to likely start to come down after that. Could we go as high as like 290 and go for the gap fill? I mean, it's possible, but I'm not really counting on it, even though it is a possibility. I don't really see it happening that strongly because the overall trend still looks pretty bearish. And I do believe this thing is set to actually come down even more as time goes on. So whether we do push up pretty hard and go for the gap fills or not, I think it's very likely the QQQ is going to eventually come down and continue with the bear trend. That's how I feel about this and the SPY, and I do believe this could have an effect on NIO. However, NIO looks like it's going to outperform the market at least for the short term. To me personally, it looks like NIO wants to go for this gap fill all the way up here. We have a very nice, like I mentioned, inverse head and shoulders. NIO looks like it's going to continue pushing. I want to see this thing break above 11 tomorrow into open. And if we do end up breaking it, we could even go for the gap fill pretty quickly. Now, if we don't get that, if NIO does not push up that hard, I mean, it would still be okay, but I do believe that NIO has potential for at least somewhat of a push up into open. Then I think NIO is going to start bleeding as the day goes on, very similar to what happened in the past. Because if you look at NIO's trend overall, we are slowly making those lower highs. It is slowly downtrending, so it could still respect this overall formation where it basically downtrends still despite pushing up right now. So I do believe NIO is going to push up, maybe peak at like 11, if not maybe 11.48, 11.47, then start coming down slowly, and where it ends up closing is probably going to be very close to where it opened. But the thing that's kind of concerning is max pains at $10.50. This hasn't been as prominent in a stock like NIO, but if that is the case, if the market does come down, NIO could end up actually retesting 10.5 and maybe breaking below it. So I wouldn't be surprised if we close either flat or a little bit red after a big pop into open. That's what I'm seeing on NIO, guys. I know many people don't want to hear that, but that is what the charts are suggesting. And that's what I think is likely to happen. With that said and done, I wanted to make this video a little bit shorter. So thank you all so much for listening. Please remain calm, cool, and collected and do what you have to do. And also remember, the short term is going to have pain, but the long term is still very bright for NIO. They have a very strong upcoming Q4 report, in my opinion, when it comes to deliveries. I think November and December deliveries are going to be very strong with the new production upgrades being made to NIO Park. It makes me very bullish, guys. I'm still holding the shares. I'm still buying more. I'm very excited for the long term future. I'll most definitely see you guys in the next one. NIO to the moon, because the long term future is still very bright despite the potential short term pain. And peace out.